Ilkay Gundogan was born to Turkish parents Irfan and Ayten Gundogan on 24th October 1990. He grew up in Gelsenkirchen, a city in North Rhine-Westphalia. From a very young age, he took to football as his outlet for expression. He lived in the same neighborhood that produced players like Mesut Özil and Leroy Sané. Being from Gelsenkirchen meant that his boyhood club was Schalke, and he did begin his journey with Schalke. However, things did not go as planned. A growth problem meant he had to take time away from football. It was a difficult time for the 8-year-old Gundogan, for whom his dream was falling apart. He told Revere Sport in 2011, "It was a huge dream of mine to be able to play for Schalke. For it to be over so quickly was not easy to take." Consider subscribing to our channel. It's free and helps us a ton. Thanks. It did not deter Gundogan from pursuing his dream. He dusted himself off and came back stronger. He had made himself so good that at the age of 13, Schalke offered another opportunity to him to sign with them, but Gundogan refused, afraid of suffering from another such disappointment. Just 2 years later, he decided to join Bochum's youth academy. He was seen as a gifted youngster, and clubs from all over Germany kept an eye on him. 2008 marked his senior debut for the reserve team of Bochum. In 2009, Nuremberg came calling. This became his first shot at proper senior football, and he did not disappoint. In the next 2 seasons at Nuremberg, he showed his versatility in the center of the pitch. At the time of his signing, Nuremberg boss Michael Oening called him a true number 10, but he excelled in other positions too. His first goal for Nuremberg came against none other than Bayern Munich on 20th February 2010 in a 1-1 draw. His reputation was growing as a versatile midfielder who could play almost any position in the middle of the pitch. Not only that, he was showing his worth as a big match player when he scored in the second leg of the relegation playoff match against Augsburg in 2010. Clubs across Germany were getting more and more interested in this young man, but his club manager Dieter Hecking urged him to stay. The then Nuremberg manager told Bild in an interview in the summer of 2010, "It's clear a boy like Ilkay Gundogan is attracting the interest of the biggest clubs. But I would advise him not to move. With us, he can finish his schooling and develop further on the pitch." And so the boy stayed put. He was honored that the club was showing so much faith in him and promised not to have his head turned by all the attention he was getting. He told Kicker in an interview, "I have to work harder and possibly even increase the price." He repaid in kind, helping them secure 6th position in the 2010-11 Bundesliga season, scoring 5 goals in the process. A season like this made it impossible for Dortmund to not make a move for him and for Nuremberg to keep him. All in all, in his 53 appearances across all competitions for Nuremberg in his 2 seasons at the club, Gundogan scored 8 goals and provided 5 assists. Jurgen Klopp was mighty impressed by the then 20-year-old Gundogan, saying, "He's got a super attitude. He's smart and willing to learn. Ilkay has a great passing game, is a complete footballer and fits perfectly into our system." Dortmund were seeking a replacement for Nuri Sahin anyway, who had left for Real Madrid that summer. But going from relegation battlers to a team competing for titles was no easy task for the young boy, and so it proved in the beginning. He did not score or assist in his first 10 games, and it was apparent that the new signing needed some time to adjust to life at Signal Iduna Park. Klopp decided to take him out of the firing line, and it did not take long for him to find his touch. By the end of his first season with Dortmund, he had scored 4 goals and provided 4 assists across all competitions, which included his all-important goal against Greuther Fürth in the semi-final that pushed Dortmund through to the DFB Pokal finals. Dortmund ended up winning the Bundesliga and DFB Pokal, doing the domestic league and cup double, their first ever in history. Gundogan was very important to the Dortmund team, and it was never more evident than in the 2012-13 season. Numbers don't do justice to how good he was this season. He was one of the main reasons for why Dortmund made it all the way to the Champions League final. His performances against Real Madrid in the two legs of the semi-finals of the Champions League got particular praise. And he also scored the equalizer from the penalty spot against Bayern Munich in the final, keeping Dortmund's hope of European glory alive. Alas, it wasn't to be. Dortmund finished runners-up to Bayern Munich, both in the Bundesliga and the Champions League. Gundogan finished up with 4 goals and 4 assists across all competitions again. Meanwhile, Gundogan was highly in demand, so much so that in March 2013, the then Dortmund CEO Hans-Joachim Watzke had to address rumors that Barcelona wanted to sign the club's number 8. Watzke told Bild, "We won't sell Ilkay for any price in the world." The 2013-14 season began with much promise as he scored in the DFL Super Cup in a 4-2 win against Bayern Munich. However, his luck turned for the worse after this. After playing the opening game of the 2013-14 Bundesliga season, he suffered a back injury on international duty that ended his season. The injury was so severe that he was sidelined for 14 months. Gundogan told Sky Sports in 2016, "It was quite a long time where I didn't want to have surgery too early because surgery of this kind, for a footballer especially, is not easy, and of course, it is dangerous." Despite his season-long injury layoff, Gundogan was offered a contract extension which would see him stay at the club till 2016. The 2014-15 season saw him getting eased back into the team after the horror injury that had him sidelined from the team for the early part of the season. His overall performances were fine, scoring 3 goals and providing 5 assists across all competitions in 33 appearances. At the end of the season, the news came that Gundogan wasn't going to sign an extension and that Dortmund would look to cash in with rumored interest from Manchester United, but instead signed an extension that would have kept Gundogan at Dortmund till 2017. Amidst all this, he had a decent 2015-16 season, but yet again suffered a truncated season due to injuries and illness, especially towards the end of the season, restricting him to only 25 appearances in the league. His time at Signal Iduna Park was over anyway, as Manchester City, under their new boss Pep Guardiola, came calling. After 5 seasons under Jurgen Klopp, it was time to play under another master of the game. Unlike other players that came to Manchester City during this time, Gundogan came with little fanfare with a modest fee of around £20 million attached to his name. Nobody knew how much he'll mean to the club because at the time it felt like the injury bug just followed him around all the time. First, he missed the initial part of the 2016-17 season due to the knee injury he carried from the end of the last season in Dortmund. After coming back from his injury, he showed some great form, scoring 5 goals and providing an assist in all competitions that included a brace against Barcelona in a Champions League group game. But the injury bug bit him again, this time in form of a cruciate ligament tear in his knee in a match against Watford that ruled him out for the rest of the season. The injury occurred in the same knee that had finished his last season early and had followed him to Manchester City. In a bizarre display of solidarity with Gundogan, Manchester City players wore a shirt with his name and number on the front of their match against Arsenal. Questions around his fitness arose. All in all, before the injury ended his season, Gundogan was on one of his best runs in terms of goal scoring and gave a glimpse into how valuable of a player he was going to become for Manchester City. 16 September 2017 saw Gundogan's return from the horror injury that ended his last season. While there were doubts how well he'll do, he became an important part of the Manchester City team. He appeared in 49 games across all competitions, scoring 6 and assisting 7. City went on to break several Premier League records this season, like a century of points and the longest winning streak in the Premier League. City ended up doing the league and EFL Cup double. Gundogan's consistency continued into the next season, making himself more and more important to the club, with De Bruyne out due to an injury for a large part of the season. 2018-19 season saw him score 6 goals and assist 8 across 50 appearances in all competitions, including a goal on the final day of the Premier League against Brighton. pipping Liverpool to the league title, while Manchester City went on to sweep all the domestic trophies. That is the Premier League, the FA Cup, the EFL Cup, and even the Community Shield. His performances fetched him a contract extension which would keep him at the Etihad for another 4 years. The 2019-20 season was a pandemic-affected season that saw City finish a distant second. Gundogan had another productive season, scoring 5 and assisting 5 in 50 appearances across all competitions. 2020 also saw one of City's stalwarts and club legend David Silva leave the club after a decade of service. His natural successor in the starting lineup proved to be Gundogan. However, he missed the delayed start of the 2021 season due to being infected by COVID. City had a problem this season in attack. The lack of a reliable goal scorer due to Sergio Aguero's continued absence through illness and various injuries that limited his availability to only 12 Premier League games, while Gabriel Jesus also missed a number of games and suffered from lack of form, scoring only 9 in 29 appearances in the league. City did not start the season well, and a loss to Tottenham Hotspurs on 21st November 2020 saw City left in the bottom half of the table. Gundogan stepped up in a big way though, providing the required goal threat when City forwards were struggling. He had his most productive season in terms of goals, scoring 13 in 28 Premier League appearances, becoming City's top goal scorer in the league. He was also City's top scorer across all competitions this season, scoring 17 in 46 appearances. He not only helped Manchester City reclaim the Premier League trophy, he also helped City reach their first ever Champions League final. However, Manchester City failed to win the Champions League, losing to Chelsea in the final. City ended up doing the domestic double, adding another EFL Cup to their trophy cabinet alongside the Premier League. In the process, Gundogan became the first City player to win the Premier League Player of the Month award in back-to-back months when he won them in February and March of 2021. The 2021-22 season saw his stellar goal-scoring form continue. However, the most important of his goals probably came on the final day of the Premier League. Going into the final day of the Premier League, Manchester City were leading Liverpool by a point, which meant City needed a win to ensure yet another Premier League title for themselves. However, by 69th minute, City were already down 2-0 to Aston Villa, and the title felt like slipping from their hands. Gundogan had come off the bench just a minute before Aston Villa had scored their second. In what can only be described as a drama of the highest order, City scored thrice in 6 minutes to overturn a 2-0 deficit, and at the forefront was Gundogan, who scored City's first and third goal. Manchester City had yet again pipped Liverpool to the Premier League trophy by a point. This proved to be the only trophy for City this season, as City's campaign in the Champions League ended in a heartbreak against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu in the second leg of the semi-final. Nevertheless, Gundogan ended the season with 10 goals and 6 assists across all competitions, continuing his great form. By now it was clear that Gundogan has emerged as one of the leaders of the locker room, and thus going into the 2022-23 season, which proved to be his final season on his current contract, he was made the club captain. And what a final season it proved to be! Manchester City went on to win the Premier League in a rather comfortable way, despite trailing Arsenal for much of the season. But the biggest triumph of City's existence came in the Champions League. After heartbreaks in the previous 2 seasons, City finally buried the demons of the past to breeze past the likes of RB Leipzig, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid and Inter Milan to win their first ever Champions League trophy. Gundogan lifting the Champions League trophy above his head, a trophy that he missed out on a decade ago, was tough of dreams. However, before the Champions League, they had the matter of the FA Cup final against their local rivals Manchester United. And who rose to the occasion? Yep, Gundogan, who opened the scoring in just 13 seconds with a thunderous volley. In the second half, with the score tied up, Gundogan scored a second goal to seal the victory for City. Manchester City had done it. They had done the continental treble, and Gundogan was very much at the forefront of it. With 11 goals and 7 assists across all competitions, Gundogan yet again proved to be a handful for the opposition defenses, and thus ended Gundogan's most fruitful chapter of his career. After 304 appearances, 60 goals and 38 assists across all competitions, 5 Premier Leagues, 4 EFL Cups, 2 FA Cups and a Champions League trophy, Gundogan bid Manchester City adieu as his contract expired. He was offered a contract extension, but Barcelona came calling, and as we know it, it's very difficult to turn down a club of Barca's stature. Gundo signed a 2-year deal with an option of an additional year with Barcelona. His first goal for Barca came in the El Clasico on 28 October 2023 when he scored in the 6th minute. Alas, Barca went on to lose the match. In fact, Barcelona had a very inconsistent season in which Gundogan proved to be their most consistent player, playing the most number of minutes across all competitions, making 51 appearances in which he scored 5 goals and provided 14 assists. Now, as the 2024-25 season has begun, you would think we'll talk about how well Gundogan has prepared for the new season. Instead, at the time of the making of this video, Gundogan's Barca career is already over, and he's already back at Manchester City. What happened? Well, that's a story in itself, but for sake of brevity, it suffices to say that Barca did a Barca, and the matter became so egregious that Gundogan waived his pending 40 million euros in wages to come back to Manchester City on a free. Can't say we blame him. While Gundo's club career, that has spanned 5 clubs and 568 appearances, isn't over yet, his international career definitely is. On 19th August 2024, Gundogan announced his retirement from international football. A career that spanned 13 years and 82 appearances came to an end, with his last assignment being captaining the German national team to the quarterfinals in the Euros 2024, where they went out against Spain in extra time. So what made Gundogan special? Well, for starters, his vision, passing abilities, but above all, his versatility. He may not be as audacious of a passer as a Kevin De Bruyne, but his penchant for arriving in the box just at the right time is tremendous for a midfielder. Not only that, he can play almost anywhere in the midfield, be it the central midfield and attacking number 10, or even a deep-lying playmaker. Jurgen Klopp, Gundogan's former coach at Borussia Dortmund, described Gundogan as an intelligent and complete midfielder with numerous strengths. Gundogan began his career at Dortmund as a wide midfielder, but later moved centrally. He said, "I came to the conclusion that playing wide wasn't my strength. I feel fine playing as a defensive or central midfielder, but I also believe that I can hold my own as a playmaker." His unique ability to score goals under pressure rescued Manchester City multiple times, and even pushed City to the title on the final day a couple times. Gundogan also attributed his growth as a footballer to Pep Guardiola, stating, "Before I joined Man City, I thought I knew football. I was 25 or 26 years old, I had seen a lot. I had played a Champions League final. But now, standing here after 7 years of Pep's school, I'd say I did not know anything about football before. His influence on the team and me personally was immense." Gundogan will soon don the sky blue of Manchester City, a club where he made his name. To some, he's already a club legend, leading the club to an unprecedented continental treble. To others, he's been a humble servant of football, having served whichever club he's contracted to with utmost respect and to the fullest of his abilities. Maybe he'll never be counted amongst the best of the best, but there's no denying the fact that Gundogan has had an immense impact on football. And for his future, we wish him all the best. Thank you for watching. Like if you liked it, share if you found it worthy, and subscribe for more content like this. This is Salty Football.